welcome to Network Capital. It's a pleasure to have you with us. You've built a portfolio of careers, you're a writer, investor, and have done a wide range of things in between. I think you've restarted your career multiple times. So we would love to learn a bit about how you introduce yourself at parties these days.
Excellent question, Utkarsh. I have introduced myself in various parties throughout my stages in a different way. You know, at different times in my career, I was excited about different things. And let me just run through, for example. I come from a very small city in UP called Fatehpur, very small district between Kanpur and Allahabad. So I'm a Hindi school product, sat down on floor up to grade, I think 10 or 8th, and then Hindi school product. And then from there, went to do engineering. But important part that I want to highlight for people who are listening is that even at that stage, I had the role model and also a sort of ambition to do something in engineering. And that was instilled in me by my mother. So my mother was my first mentor, right? And so from there to IIT entrance exam, which paper was in English, I had never seen a paper in English. I couldn't understand half of it. And so obviously I couldn't come. So I went to NIT Allahabad and I made sure that I cover up my failure at IIT by coming at the top of the class from NIT. And I did. I was gold medalist there and got a scholarship and immediately went to Canada, did my PhD and so on. So at that time, obviously the introduction was, I want to do PhD, right? After PhD, I arrived in Silicon Valley and my goal became that I want to be #1 in my field. You know, to your point, category of one, I said, I will be the best in my field. And that field was called electronic schooling at that time. Computers were becoming bigger and bigger and a lot of power and cooling them was becoming a challenge. And so I immediately took Aavid Barkohen, who was professor at the University of Minnesota, who was #1 at that point. He had written book. He was the person for electronic schooling. I made him my inspiration. And then I went through various stages. He became my inspiration. Then he became my role model. Then he became my colleague. And then actually we were presenting papers in the conferences together. So he was my inspirer, to role model, to mentor, and to colleague. So at that time, I was introducing myself that I have done this and I want to be #1 in my field. And after that, during that time, Utkarsh, I got a chance to work with Steve Jobs, and working with him is a phenomenal experience. Actually, right behind the computer, there's a large poster of iMac, which says, "Thanks, Vivek and team, we couldn't have done without you," signed Steve Jobs. Right behind that, right? So then obviously Steve Jobs became my mentor and inspirer. And at that time, I wanted to introduce myself as innovator. And I have 6 patents, so I became innovator. After that, I became a leader, right? And to save time, but I had to return suddenly to India. My company was doing well in Silicon Valley. But my mother developed some health issues, and literally over one evening, and I can, talk to you more about that, Utkarsh, because it is very important that how can one person who is doing so well with children, 2 sons brought up in US, suddenly on one evening can say, I'm going to India and leave everything here, because the important thing is to take care of my mother and father. And that is exactly what I did. We can talk about it later. And then I became a global leader. I was head of Dell, I was Cisco, and so on. And then I would introduce myself as a global leader, right? And then after that, I picked up this Mentor a Million, which I can talk a little more about. And I said, I want to mentor 1 million people now. And so these days I introduce myself as an author and a person who wants to mentor 1 million people. Does that address your question? So different stages, different way
introductions, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
clearly when you go to parties, you have many stories to tell.
Yes.
Let me pick one element of that story. What's it like to be in the same room as Steve Jobs, and what's it like to work with him?
So, I've been lucky, Utkarsh. I have worked with David Packard, Bill Hewlett, Michael Dell, Steve Jobs, and John Chambers. Right? These are five people.
Tell us about your experience. Yes.
And I have been very, very lucky to be able to do that. Probably the only one in the world who has done that. And not just sort of work with them, but interact with them in different ways, which I describe in book. For example, I was very junior when I flew on an HP plane with, on one side, it was David Packard. On the other side, it was Bill Hewlett sitting, and they were talking to me. And I was Maria's age, maybe, or something in that that aside. But working with all these people is phenomenal, Utkarsh. They are all phenomenal leaders. They all have different categories. If you want to say category of one, they are defined differently. So Steve Jobs is about creativity. John Chambers is about customer. Michael Dell is about execution. David Packard and Bill Hewlett were about people. So if I have to just capture their thing in one word, that would be it. Now, you talked about Steve Jobs, although working experience with all of them has been phenomenal, right? But Steve is the best product designer the world has ever seen, right? And I put everyone, Elon Musk and everyone in that bucket. He is the best. Why is he the best? Because one with quotation that I use all the time is he said that customers are not supposed to know what they need. Think about it. Jeff Bezos says, start with customer and provide them what they need. He's not wrong. He built Amazon based on that. But for Steve Jobs, it was that customers are not supposed to know what they need. We have to design a product that they would want to have, or they would die to have. Right? And that is the Steve Jobs, that caliber of person who can see what customers will need, no one has. Now, what was the experience like working with him? Working with all of these people, Garsh, you can imagine these people want to achieve a lot in a very short period of time. So they are impatient. They don't allow second time mistake. Maybe one is okay, but second time is maybe too many. Right? Because they have limited time, they want to achieve a lot. They generally don't have time for niceties. You know, if you are expecting every day for them to be nice and do chit chat, what happened in baseball game yesterday and this and that, they don't have time for that. So many times people confuse them with rude. They are not. They are people on mission. In a very limited time, they want to achieve a lot. And if you can run at their speed, you would love them. If you can't run at their speed, you will have a challenge at your hand. So Steve's example, let me just add 30 seconds more. What made him write this comment for me? So when he came second time at Apple, that is the time I worked with him. So Apple was in dire strait. You guys may be too young to know that, but Apple was going bankrupt at that time. And stock was at $8 or something like that. Money was going to run out in 6 months. That is when Steve came back. And he looked at all the products that Apple was designing. And he said that kill all 30 odd products, just focus on these 3. And one of them was a product called iMac. Again, some of you may have seen it, or at least you can see it in a museum if you go to Apple. iMac was a product, first of its kind, Utkarsh, which had the monitor and computer built into monitor itself. There was no separate box like it used to be. So obviously, a lot more components in a small space, and he wanted it to be cooled without a fan, which was all the other computers were cooled by fan. And that was my expertise because I had become #1 in my field at that time. And that is what I worked with him on, and I delivered. The iMac actually did not have a fan. And so when he launched the product at Cupertino Flint Center, he highlighted that feature. And that is why he gave me the compliment that I talked to you about it. So phenomenal experience to work with Steve Jobs, but so is with all these others. These all are described in the book, and I'm sure people will enjoy reading about them, because one important lesson I want people to learn from the book is everyone has to be inspired by few people. They should know which are the people they inspired them. And this is a message to Vyom and Shomi and other people also. Try to look for people who inspire you, that there may be something more than that in that signal. So I enjoyed working with Steve. I cannot say, I mean, I can talk for half an hour about that, but we'll move on. Let's go to other topics.
Thank you very much. Before we actually start discussing about some tenets of your book, tell us about how you trained yourself to run at the same speed at which leaders like Steve Jobs expected you to run. And clearly delivering on outcomes like that would not have been easy. How did you prepare?
Yeah, excellent question. So I have believed for a long time that everyone has to realize their potential by doing three things. One, think out of the box, where creativity and innovation come into play. Follow excellence, become the best you can be. Everyone cannot become everyone. Everyone cannot become a Rahul Dravid or a Steve Jobs, but become the best you can. So excellence is that path that can take you there. And the third is leadership qualities. So I focused on them, Utkarsh, from very early part of my career. I understood their significance, and I worked very hard to actually become the best version of myself. I call it in my book. And that has helped me tremendously. And if you have excellence, you will get respect from even Steve Jobs, because he can't do what you can do. He knows that. That is why he respects you. So I think working with these people, whether it's John Chambers or Michael Dell, becomes easier. I'm big on innovation, and Michael was big on innovation, Michael Dell. And so a lot to talk about, a lot of respect for each other. And then, obviously with these people, you have to deliver. You have to work your tails off. You have to do whatever it takes to deliver the outcome they need. But if you are prepared and have become best version of yourself and have developed these three pillars in your career, which irrespective of whatever career you do, if you have good leadership skills, good excellence in area of your core competence, and you have a capability to think out of the box, you will do well, fine in any career you choose with any person. You can stand against them.
Yeah. Is there something specific you did to build your tribe of mentors? Many times people just end up with the wrong set of people. Is there something that you did early on to find these hidden gems?
So, that's an excellent question. And I think it's very important. Like I said earlier, my first mentor was my mother. I was grade 10 and she guided me to, she actually pointed me to some of role models within my family. Look at this uncle, he did this and so on. So from grade 10 onwards, I had sort of mentor in my mother. Then my uncle became my mentor, who was a PhD in physics, was a professor. And then I got exposed to PhD is a good idea. One should actually develop excellence in one field, and PhD is a hallmark of that. Then my mentor became my PhD supervisor in Canada. The story on how I went and studied in Canada is also interesting, Utkarsh. Just in 30 seconds, I'll tell people so that they know that there's no stopping if you really are passionate about something that you want. I didn't have money to go to Canada or USA. I didn't even know, frankly, how to do that. So no point in applying with SAT and GMAT and all that, because I would not qualify. I didn't have any money. So what I did, Utkarsh, I wrote to professors who I liked. I wrote to about 10 professors. I understood what area of work they were doing, which is the area that I wanted to study. And I wrote to them that I like your area. I read your paper, and I'm very interested in this area. And within those 10, one was Professor P.H. Ustaisen from Queen's University. And he gave me full scholarship and made me come to Queen's. The point is, nobody can stop you if you know what you want and you are passionate about it and you are willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen. So then he became my mentor. After that, I joined HP, and then David Hurain, a person I respected, he became my mentor. And then at that time, I said I want to be number one in my field. And Professor Aavid Barkohen, I already talked about, he became my inspirer first, then mentor, then etc. So then I started my own companies, and then I looked for mentors who have done that before. So very important criteria, Utkarsh, is ideally a mentor should have been there and done that in the path that you want to take, so that they know the ups and downs that you will face and help you. So when I decided to do my own startups, I looked for mentor who can help me with that. And there were two at that time. One was Prakash Bhalerao, a billionaire serial entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, and Bart Patel, who was founder of Fluent. So they became my mentors. And then John Chambers became my mentor because I had to take my leadership skills to the next level. Currently, there are two VCs are my mentors, and I'm giving back so much that I actually have mentors, Ramesh and Swati Ramanathan, who have Janagraha as a social impact organization. They are my mentors. And last part I don't want to miss, which is I am also getting reverse mentored. So even reverse mentoring is important. So I have two of my sons. Both mentor me, do reverse mentoring with me. And in addition, I have some people who are very junior to me, but I spend time with them and take reverse mentoring very seriously. So I think to summarize this, I describe my journey because I want people to know that it's not one mentor that can take you all the way. You will need different mentors in different part of your life, and decide mentor based on the path you want to take, because that person should have been there, done that. And mentor will be there when you need them. Let me tell you that. And the book, the purpose of the book, now, if I can go there, Utkarsh, can I describe that a little bit?
Yeah, I was about to ask you a bit about why did you write the book? Why the title?
So it goes right in there. So I think my fundamental belief, Utkarsh, is that everyone needs and deserves a mentor. Everyone needs and deserves a mentor. No matter what age, no matter what they want to do, and so on. So I have been beneficiary of mentors in my whole life. All my success, actually, I can give thanks to them. I achieved that success. I also mentored hundreds of people in my 35-40 years of career all over the world, not just in India. I was in US and Taiwan and Japan and so on. So I understood how much difference a mentor can make. And these are big in a way, mentees of mine, even after years of working with them. So then when I retired from Cisco at the age 65, I said, what do I want to give back to the world? And I said, what if I can mentor 1 million people? Now, how do you mentor 1 million people? Up to now, I had mentored people face-to-face or on a Zoom call or something like that. But now to mentor 1 million people, I would not be able to reach all of them. They will never be able to reach me. So then the genesis of the book is that. I said, okay, if I write the book that becomes a mentor itself, then I can reach 1 million people. Then the second question comes then, okay, after reading the book, if people have questions, what happens? So then I created a website. People can go there and ask their question only after reading the book. All the questions are answered free. And Utkarsh, I'm happy to tell you that all the profits of the book are being donated to Chitrakoot Eye Hospital, which is the largest single eye hospital in the world, doing 1,000 surgeries a day on less fortunate people. 850 of them are free. So all the money from the book is going there. I'm not benefiting from this exercise. but it is a big goal. I don't think anyone has done this before, so it will be an interesting journey, but it is something that excites me and gets me up from the bed excited every day.
And that's the point. Now you have network capital. So you can actually scale your service to millions of people around the world.
And I will talk to you about that. Yes, I need that help to help a million people.
Yeah. So Vivek, talk to us about the structure of the book. What was the process of actually translating your thoughts into words look like?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. So I had given talks, Utkarsh, on many of these subjects all over the world throughout my career. Innovation, I have spoken to many places. Excellence, I have spoken. Leadership, global leadership, I have spoken. So these ideas were there. But when I thought about the book, the objective of the book became that this book should act as a mentor. Period. So everything should really go in that direction. So the book is in a few parts. So first I tell my story so that people know who I am, because I'm not going to see them face to face. So they should know me better. They should know my credibility better. And so first is my story, which is actually, and all the lessons learned are tied to that. The second part is capturing your aspirations, which I showcase in my chapter, but also how do you capture aspirations? So in one line, Utkarsh, if I have to describe the book, it is define who you aspire to be and become that person. That's the whole book. Define who you aspire to be and become that person. Now, most people never define. Most people never figure out actually themselves. So it's not intentional, but it's a mistake that people make. And so the first part of the book covers how do you aspire and capture your aspirations. So let me spend a couple of minutes on this topic because it's so important. If you look at the aspirations, there are two parts to aspirations that one has to capture. One is aspire big. And second is aspire in a holistic way, so that when you achieve your aspirations, you don't feel hollow. So let me give you an example on that. There's a study done in US with S&P 500 companies CEOs at the end of their career, and they were asked if they consider themselves successful. And many of them said no. Why? Obviously, financial success was there, professional success was there, but obviously they probably did not succeed in relationships or giving back or health or any other aspect of their life that was important to them. They just ignored that. So I think it's very important when you capture your aspiration, capture it in a holistic way. Professor Clayton's work at Harvard University is very interesting. He followed a class at the 5-year reunion. He said the whole MBA class was doing hunky-dory, great jobs, great spouses, new cars, new houses, no problem. By the 10th reunion of the same class, 30% of people did not show up. And when he tried to find out, they were having one or the other kind of problem, mostly dealing with relationships and health and so on. And at the 25th year reunion, Utkarsh, actually half the class was in serious trouble. Many actually had health issues, many had relationship issues, and some had ended up in jail. Okay, so these are the smartest people. What went wrong? And that was because they focused on single dimension goal. Maybe profession, they gave too much focus and they may have achieved it, but in this process, they lost. So I think one part of capturing aspiration is to capture in a holistic way. Whatever is important to you, I'm not going to tell you what is important for you. You decide, but make sure all the aspects that are important to you are captured there, right? That is one part. The second is how do you actually aspire and become, something? So let me give you two examples. Dilip Kumar, the actor from Bollywood, I'm sure you are all familiar with, right? He was selling fruits in Bombay. He didn't aspire to become a largest fruit store in Bombay. He aspired to become a movie actor, and he did. Take Mahendra Singh Dhoni. I think the younger people will relate to him more. Mahendra Singh Dhoni was a ticket collector in railways. He didn't aspire to become a station master. He aspired to play cricket for India, and he did. So how do you actually capture your aspirations in a very free-flowing way? It's not that easy, but it is very important to do. So I think that is the first part that the book captures. It goes through how you can do that. There are 2-3 ways described how you can do that. One of the example it gives is, consider that God is in front of you. Now there are no constraints. Ask whatever you want. Can you really ask? Let me tell you, Utkarsh, many people, even with that question, have hard time thinking big.
I can imagine.
Even when God is in front of you, so there is no constraint. But anyway, so I think first part is capturing your aspirations. Second part is capturing your aspiration in a holistic way. And that is described in the book as wheel of goals. So don't have single dimension, one goal, have multiple goals, but you decide what it is. And they may change over time in your life. They will, you are a human being, but still have holistic goals throughout your life, right? So that is the next part of it. Now the second part of my sentence. So define who you aspire to be. So now you have captured your aspiration. Now the second part is become that person. Now this is where you have to become the best version of yourself. Everyone cannot become an Utkarsh or a Dr. Mansingh. They don't have to actually. They have to be whoever they are, but then become the best version of themselves by focusing on being very passionate about what they do, because passion helps them ride through ups and downs that will come in their life. Everyone faces them. They will happen. Then think out of the box. It is a skill. Thinking out of the box is a skill that you can learn. It is not that people are born. So when I'm saying thinking out of the box, don't think Einstein. We are not talking about Einstein. Everyone cannot be an Einstein, but you can think out of the box. You can improve whatever you are doing to the next level and the next level and the next level. So that is a skill set. Excellence is a skill set. And leadership is a skill set. If you harness these, you become the best version of yourself and you become worthy of your aspirations. So take Mahendra Singh Dhoni's example. It was not that he aspired to play cricket and then he sat on his butt. He actually worked his tails off to improve his fitness, to improve his technique, to improve his game, to so many things he did to become worthy of playing for India. We need to do the same. We need to become worthy of our aspirations. And I can tell you that with the proper guidance from mentor and so on, you can actually achieve a lot more than you can think. And then the book goes into the third part, Utkarsh, where I said there are 11 people I admire, truly admire, and I'm inspired by. So I said, let me reach out to them and talk to them about the topics in the book and how they see these topics. And these are Ratan Tata, Narayan Murthy, Kiran Majumdar, Dr. Devi Shetty, John Chambers, Rahul Dravid, the 11 people that I admire. So their interviews are part of the book. And these interviews are not generic interviews, Utkarsh. These are interviews about the topics in the book. So for example, Rahul Dravid on excellence, Narayan Murthy on leadership. So you will enjoy reading them. And the idea is that by reading them, at least one or two of these become your inspiration. That, oh, I want to be like Kiran Majumdar. I want to be like Vani Kola. I want to be like Narayan, whatever is your thought process. So the third part is twofold. One, give you an inspiration. And secondly, a proof point from these phenomenal people that what I'm talking about in the first two parts of the book is actually correct and relevant. The fourth part of the book is my own mentees who I have mentored. There are about 20 of those who give example of the impact of mentoring on them. These are students to early career, to mid-career, to CEOs. They are men, women, they are young, old. So the idea is the reader will at least associate with one or two of them, if not more, and say, oh, mentoring helped them this way, so maybe it can help me as well. And so these are the four parts, Utkarsh. And they truly take you like a mentor sitting next to you. And that is the idea. After reading the book, if you have questions, you submit on my website and we'll help you from there onwards. That is the sort of whole focus of the book.
The structure seems fascinating. What makes a good mentor-mentee relationship? What advice do you have for people who are looking to form a tribe of mentors that you've mentioned in the book?
Yeah. I think first of all, mentors have to be passionate about making difference to other people. So they should not be doing it as a favor to others. So mentors have to be saying, oh, I'm excited about making a difference to this young person. I'm not doing a favor to them. That is the mindset mentors should have. That's very important. Mentees, on the other hand, have to do a lot of things. Number one, they have to first do their homework and show to the mentor that they have taken 3 steps already. So when a mentee shows up to me and says, can I have an hour of your time for mentoring? I say, what have you done yourself before? Which books have you read? What have you tried? Have you spoken to any mentor? Basically, the idea is, Utkarsh, don't dump it on me. Don't come and say, here are my problems, help me. It doesn't work that way. A mentee has to actually make it happen. Of course, a mentor can give the guidance. And if mentor has been there, done that, nothing like it. But if you have hard time finding that kind of person, I think rely on book. Like I said, my book helps you. The online mentoring sort of available on-site, online facilities are available. You can do that. And then if you have taken these steps, if you go to a mentor and say, I read Dr. Mansingh's book and I have taken these 4 steps, then I found an online mentor and I have taken these 3 steps. Now, can you please take me to the next level? Nobody will tell you no. Right?
Getting to yes involves showing preparation, showing that you have put in your effort. And even the way Network Capital approaches mentorship is that when we have people go through these cohort-based courses and office hours, the people who are able to gain most out of it are the ones who do pre-work and come with specific problems and then co-create the solution. And the relationship tends to be a more horizontal one, where it's 2 equals trying to figure out a solution, which makes it interesting for everybody involved.
100%. Well said.
So Vivek, tell us about hard times. Your career seems like one success after the other: Steve Jobs, John Chambers, patents, doctorate, all these kinds of things. But I'm pretty sure that there have been hard times and challenges. And everything that you've outlined in the book is fascinating, but does it really hold when the going gets tough? When you're trying to restart your career, when you lose somebody, when somebody starts a random rumor about you, how do you deal with that? What's the
I have seen all of what you just said, and actually in the book I have covered my failures also, and how I have overcome them. So many failures. There is a talk of mine on YouTube somewhere where I have only talked about my failures and the lessons learned. So like everyone else, I have failed many times, and my belief is always that failure is also part of success. It prepares you better for the next round. And so it is part of success. So if I count some, Utkarsh, I failed in IIT entrance exam. No matter what the reason is, it's okay, right? But at least I couldn't succeed. I failed there. If you look at many startups that I have been involved with, one startup that I was involved in failed because we couldn't raise money. 2000 hell broke loose time came when the Wall Street, so there could be reasons completely out of your control, but you will face failure. So there I failed. So there are many failures actually discussed in the books, but I have never taken a failure as something on me. I have given the best shot to the problem. And as an entrepreneur, I've mentored many companies. Some have succeeded beyond imagination. Some have failed. So failure is part of success, and you have to learn your lessons and move on. So my career has not been a straight line success as I described in the book. I have covered my failures and the lessons learned as well.
Awesome. Just before we open it up to our career restarters, any final piece of advice, or is there any question that I should have asked you but I didn't?
Yes, I can do couple. For example, I think in our email exchange you asked a very fascinating question, which was, what was the most difficult part in writing the book? That is a lovely question that nobody has asked me so far, but it's a lovely question. Thanks for asking. And it's very relevant for the book. So Utkarsh, I wanted to write a book that is relevant to 15-year plus. So 15-year also, 25 also, 35 also, 45 also, 55 also. That is not easy to do. So from high school onwards, actually, your aspirations should start taking a form. They can change anytime, but so 15 plus, it becomes relevant. That is very difficult to do. So I had to make sure that I'm using English that is very understandable. Also Utkarsh, I wanted to reach out to people in second tier and third tier cities as well. It's not just for convent educated English speaking people. I will be actually doing a Hindi version in due course of time as well, and other languages. So that was the most difficult part. Rajan Anandan, when he launched the book, he said, for example, that there are two kinds of books. You know, one that you thoroughly enjoy and you are very excited about it, but at the end of the book, you don't know what to do. And this is very actionable book. Actually, throughout the book, and once you have read the book, you will know what next steps you have to take. It's really up to you to take that step. So I think these two things, one, making it relevant from 15 onwards, and two, making it very actionable, are probably the two difficult parts in the book. Most enjoyable part, which you had also asked, was the interviews with these phenomenal people who inspired me. Fantastic time I had talking to, whether it's Narayan Murthy or Rahul Dravid or Ratan Tata or any of these people. So much aura, so much presence, so much humbleness, so much you can learn from these. And I do not know how one of these people or all of these people would not inspire literally everyone. They also had 24 hours. They also rose from where we started. Now, another question I'll answer, and then I'll open it to Utkarsh. That is also your question, but I'll address. You had asked, what is next for you? So here is a very relatable thing to the book. At 65, I have given myself the following goals. Mentor a million. I already talked about that. I want to create 3 unicorns from India in deep technology and product space. Why? Because India is still not known as product nation. It is the first sort of companies, startups that have succeeded, like Flipkart and Naukri and Make My Trip, are all copies of the Western startups. And so now the time is there for India to do their own startups that become global and successful. So my goal is, because of my background, innovation and technology and so on, to create 3 to 5 unicorns that establish India as a product nation also. If I do that, Utkarsh, I would have also created 50,000 jobs. And that is my goal number 3. Give back in a meaningful way, which also I have covered. By the way, please do read that chapter, because giving back is not just for people who you are helping. It's actually even more so for you yourself. And I have covered that in the big way. So I want to I've just built a hospital. I'm inaugurating an eye hospital for the poor on 24th of April, just in about a week, and many other activities that I'm doing to give back. So I have very clear goals of giving back. Keep earning respect from friends and family. That is everyone's desire, but sometimes we don't find time to actually earn respect, even from our own children. I always tell people, have you asked your children, do they respect you? Not love you. Obviously, they love you because they are your children, but do they respect you and why? You will be shocked with the answer. So please do that. So my goal is to keep earning the respect and love from my children and friends, and then continue to strive to achieve meaningful success. I still have my wheel of goals that every December I evaluate myself on and create the goal for the next year or any tweaks I need. And I'm pursuing my journey for meaningful success. So that's the story, Karsh.
What a fascinating story indeed, Vivek. You've taken us from a journey from Steve Jobs to Rahul Dravid, from MS Dhoni to Narayan Murthy. And it's been fascinating to learn the fact that at 65, you're as ambitious as you were at perhaps 25. And it brings me to something that we keep reinforcing on Network Capital, that slowly we are becoming an age-agnostic society, or at least we should become an age-agnostic society, where people across age groups, across different streams collaborate. And your hunger is deeply appreciated, as is your advice and mentorship. Thank you very much, Vivek. It was a pleasure hosting you on Network Capital, and I know it's the first of many things we collaborate on.
I look forward to it. I know what you are trying to do, and I'm happy to partner with you and make a difference.